and when we can actually finish building the damn thing. But yeah, so we decided to change venue a little bit from where we normally film. And yeah, we're up here on the top story now with a dam and stuff in the background and traffic going past us and
enjoying the last of the sun that I think
enjoying the last of the summer wine.
It is, because the fact of the weekend is going to be terrible.
Currently, winter arrives in about 4 hours' time, so we'll see.
In any case, what are we going to talk about? I see CSP, bilaterals, and the PAIA request.
Yeah. So we'll change up the thing slightly. I think what we need to talk about first, perhaps, is Scrappy. So we had a particularly nice thank you letter yesterday from an education project in Mpumalanga that has been sponsored by a corporate sponsor who bought 100 Scrappy books from us.
I saw them all.
Yeah, Lynette's hand was dead for weeks. Basically they bought these books. Scrappy the Land Rover is our first stage in our Gun Buddies program, our firearm safety training program for kids, and so they've now they've now sponsored these books to this project in Mpumalanga, who's handed them out to all of the kids, and all the kids got a copy of it, and they sent us a nice photograph, which we put up on the masthead on the group. And sent a nice letter thanking us, etc. So that's quite exciting. We think that's and the Rottweiler is now chasing the Staffy around on the slab up top here.
It is.
Anyway, so we think that's quite a nice thing. So nice. It's nice to take unique initiatives like that and have them work out.
And hopefully we'll get the visiting to the creches, which Hannes has been working on, and a couple of other things.
Correct.
For the kids in the next couple of months.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then we can move on to stuff which is perhaps some things are quite have happened which are quite nice, and some things are not that nice. Let's move on to the not so nice ones. So you may know that the Civilian Secretary of Police has been engaging in what they term bilateral discussions with members of the firearms community, with other associations. They came to us, this is as a result of the failure of their webinar last year, November, which we were instrumental in bringing to a crashing halt, because they've been dying to get this bill, these amendments to the Act through. And the amendments to the Act are awful, they're horrible, they're terrible. We want to kill them dead like disco. So we've... Anyway, so they started this bilateral, this webinar program last year, which as I say, we brought to a crashing halt. So they're trying to do bilaterals, what they call bilaterals, which basically means
we've talked about it before.
They get together with individual groups and they try to sell them on the idea. So they came to us. We were one of the first people that they approached, in actual fact, in January for this, and we said to them, no, under no circumstances. You can't meet with individual members of the firearms community and reach agreements with people in smoke-filled rooms. It's not how the whole thing works. You have to meet all of us, or you meet none of us. Unfortunately, a lot of the other associations and organizations agreed to these. Everyone wants to be seen as important, so they all went trotting off to these meetings with the Civilian Secretary of Police. And what exactly they discussed there, we managed to get out of some of them by, I think, just by their members asking exactly what was going on. So we've got some of the answers, and now somebody's jogging past the premises and Uchi's.
Staffy, oh my goodness me.
Staffy and Rottweiler.
Uchi! Violence!
Okay, that's something we didn't consider necessarily right in the beginning.
Guys.
That somebody would jog past the premises.
Hey, you guys!
And the Rottweiler and the Staffy would think they're trying to run away from them.
Come, pups. Come, puppies.
Okay, so
sorry, guys.
And all right, so we have these bilaterals happening. The last bilaterals were scheduled for next week. We said to the Civilian Secretary of Police back when we killed the webinar, we said to them, well, okay, so thanks for inviting us, and here's a list of questions that we have for you guys before we meet with you. We need to know where this amendment bill came from. We need to know who you discussed it with, who you consulted, and you need to give us that information, because this is now a Promotion of Access to Information Act request. It's an official document. You have to tell us.
We've asked a couple of times, and
we've tried to follow up with it, and they're ignoring us, and they're ignoring us, and they're ignoring us.
Why?
No. Because they don't want to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to tell us who they met with behind
Previously.
closed doors, who agreed to what. They don't want to tell us any of this stuff. We know we deserve that information. We need to know that.
As the public.
And we will not meet with the Civilian Secretary of Police until such time as they give us the information we've asked for. We deserve the information. We want the information. We will have it. So they've ignored us. So for the last couple of months, every time they invite us to this, they're desperate to meet with us. Every time they invite us to this bilateral, we say to them, but where's our information that we asked for? You know we can't meet with you before we have this information. It enables us as GOSA. We're a public benefit organization. We're a public we're a non-profit organization. We have a board that determines our direction. It's not just me that pitches up and decides to do something. So we have to discuss something and reach a position before we make agreements with government. And we need the answers to these questions before we can do that.
Like informed.
So to make informed decisions on behalf of our members.
Yeah.
So they don't want to give us this information, and so they just ignore us.
Yeah.
So I've written to the chief director in the secretary's office several times this year, most lately this morning, and again said to them, where's our PAIA request? When are you planning to give us this information? Please give it to us before close of business today. We'll workshop on it over the weekend if need be, so we'd like to meet with you, but only once you give us this information. So that's not forthcoming, and I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be forthcoming.
When did you do this letter?
I've been resending the letter to them for the last couple of weeks, or last couple of months even. So this weekend we are going to be drafting an affidavit, and next week we're going to be filing court papers, and we're going to enforce the PAIA request through the courts. We're going to get the courts to tell the Civilian Secretary of Police that they have to answer these questions. We will know who was involved. We actually do know in drafting of the bill. We know that the chairman of the appeals board unlawfully, irregularly was involved in drafting of the amendment bill. She's supposed to be the referee, not a player.
Independent.
She's supposed to be independent. She's obviously and apparently not. But we want that to come out. We want the records.
Yeah.
We want to know what role she played in drafting of the bill. And we'll have that information. So that's now going to go into a judicial process. We had to wait until now for them to produce it for us. But now we know the meetings meetings are coming to a close. We are going to get that information.
And they're basically going to say you've refused to meet with them.
Yeah, well, exactly.
That's what they're going to say.
The prerequisite to the meeting is the PAIA request. You know what to do. Answer the PAIA request. Anyway, so that we get to that. Another nice thing. So there was a nice thing to start with. A bit of a not a nice thing now. Another nice thing that's happened. We spoke last week about getting a cheap declarator.
Yeah.
Getting the head of legal in the Free State to issue a declarator about travelling with licenses or having anything but a Section 13 firearm on you, and the head of legal services in the Free State issued a directive and just said, just leave the people alone. If they've got a license, leave them alone. Stop hassling the people. That was a cheap win. That was a very, very important milestone. It was a cheap win. We had another one this morning. So one of the gun shops who shall remain nameless in Pretoria has been insisting that people cannot buy more than 200 rounds of ammunition for a firearm that they don't hold a Section 16 license for, a license for dedicated sport shooting or dedicated hunting. So whereas the Act says, the Act is entirely clear on it, and the Act says the exception to the 200 round rule is if you have dedicated status, any license under the Act, you may have more than 200 rounds for.
It's like we all start shooting with our Section 13
Most people start shooting with their Section 13.
And then now you've come to a national...
You get dedicated status with your Section 13. Now you can't buy more than 200 rounds for it unless you have a Section 16 license, according to them.
So if you go to a nationals, you need about 500 rounds.
Exactly.
What are you going to do?
The whole thing has been illogical from the start, and the law doesn't say that. So anyway, so we fortunately this gun shop in Pretoria that refused to sell one of our members the ammunition referred them to a certain person who we got hold of, and we said to that person, did you tell this gun shop this? And he said, well, yes, that's what our instructions are. I said, okay, let's go through the Act, shall we? Why did you tell them that? Oh no, because the Act says that you've got to have a license in terms. I said, no, the Act doesn't say that. The Act says a license in terms of the Act. So any license under any section in the Act.
It says the Act. It doesn't say.
It doesn't say the section. So this person then had a Damascene conversion, and said, yes, you're absolutely right. What we didn't know is this person then went into a meeting with one of the heads of the CFR immediately after that.
We're also not going to name names
and convinced that person put the same argument to that person, and they discovered that they'd been wrongly informed by by material which was drawn from the Act by Director Botma 15 years ago, and that they've been instructing people from that day forward in the wrong interpretation of the Act. The Act doesn't require interpretation on this. It's absolutely crystal clear. It's black on white. So we're hoping to get another directive out of that, which will be,
I'm not holding thumbs, but
it's
I
little
hope so.
steps. It's little steps. We're hoping to get another cheap win out of that. So that's grabbing low-hanging fruit. It's easy. It's not easy. It's knowing the right people and having the right arguments, but it's things that we can win. Okay, and then let's get on to our legal case. Your Rottweiler.
Sorry.
Now,
let me just go on. Yeah, okay.
Let's sit down.
Urge, come. Oh my goodness me.
That's something we didn't consider.
No, we didn't.
That the dogs are now up here with us, and people are walking past on the pavement, and they think it's very exciting to bark at them.
Sorry,
because they're
guys.
above the people's heads.
Yeah.
The people on the pavement that with the dogs above their heads don't think it's quite so exciting. Anyway, so then onto the last point basically that we're trying to talk about is back again to our declarator. So there was a bit of a kerfuffle in the airwaves over the last week, where some parties have misunderstood what we've been talking about. They really shouldn't, because it's actually quite clear and we've put it quite clearly, but they've misunderstood it. We are not asking the courts to declare that printouts are licenses. We're asking the courts to declare what is a license in terms of the Act. We know that a license is the notation on the computer system. What follows from that is, how do you prove that that license is there? Is it a piece of paper like this, which is what we say it can be?
It's one of the things that it can be.
So it follows from that. It's not that we're asking the courts to declare a piece of paper as a license. We're asking the courts to declare what a license is.
Yeah.
Then it comes to the matter of, how do you prove that a license exists? And that can be quite literally anything. It could be a message on your cell phone. So
they can send a QR code or
they can
something.
they can send you something.
It can be anything.
They can send you something.
So yeah.
So that's what that's what our court case is all about. And we're very confident. We've got a whole bunch of our members that have contributed affidavits.
You seen the papers this week?
The paperwork looks very good. The papers look very solid. I'm not going to say it's going to be a win.
Never know.
I'd love it to be a win. I can't see how it can fail though, because we're not asking the courts to do anything which is a stretch. We're going to the courts right from the beginning and saying, okay, so the Act talks about a license, but it never defines a license. We need to know, what is a license? Please tell us. And only after that do we follow with, okay, so how do we prove that there's a license? Anyway, so that's what we're asking the courts. We think we're going to be successful. We think we've got very good chances of success. But as with everything else, it's a crapshoot.
It is.
You walk in a court,
and it can go either anyway.
Hopefully you don't get a learner judge, but that can happen.
So it's in the hands of the gods.
Pretty much.
Okay.
But if you don't try, you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the only way.
And we're always going to be asking the questions.
I just want to follow up in terms of the hijab. We've not been leaving it. I've been busy trying to run the business for the last week or so.
Sure.
But there is, Chris is following up with some stuff. Our legal counsel, there is some people that's interested that from the Human Rights Commission. So hopefully in the next week or so we'll have a little bit more news on that.
Correct. Fantastic.
So which will be great.
No, we're fighting the fight, guys.
You have your phone?
No. I believe there might be some questions that have come through. Just waiting for our intrepid camera person
and Uchi Wrangler
to tell us.
What do you think is Bekitele and why? Why is he dead set on disarming citizens?
Hey, shoot.
No, that's a long and complex. Getting into Bekitele's head, who knows?
But I think it's more from the government side.
I look, remember, it is still official ANC policy that civilians should not be armed. They haven't changed their policy position from the 1990s. They can't. They're bound. They're ideologically bound. They don't change their minds. They stick to the knitting. They don't have. They haven't done the thought work that's required to actually make a decision. They're just following the script. And I think
but also an armed society is a society that you can control. Look at Shanghai right now.
Yeah, you can't pull a Shanghai, lock people in their apartment blocks if the people have the means to resist that.
Yeah.
You know, beat your pets to death on the pavement. You can't do that kind of shit that kind of stuff, excuse my language. You can't do that kind of stuff when people have got the means to resist you.
Yeah.
So it's a long-held ideological position that people need to be disarmed to make government easier, to make ruling those people easier.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not going to lie down. Oh dear, somebody's running past with their dog.
Oops.
This could be exciting.
I'm just going to hold
Let's hope that let's try to distract our dogs.
Yeah. Please.
Okay, I think we've scored.
Yeah.
Okay. that was a close moment there. We could have had a bit of excitement up top here.
Okay, so we're also planning some other firearm festivals. So there's some developments
Correct.
in the Uppington area that hopefully
Very exciting thing in the Northern Cape.
So hopefully we'll have a firearm festival that will have some more ladies events. So there's exciting things if you've not been members.
Yeah, stay tuned.
And,
support us in our legal efforts, please. We need the loot. We can't pay our lawyers. Then the lawyers get all upset with us and they get grumpy and they work to rule and stuff. We can't afford that. We need them to be pulling for us.
If you're not members, become members. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I think for the
Thank
have a
you
nice
all.
warm
Yeah.
weekend.
Buckle down for tonight and tomorrow. It's going to get wet and windy.
Anyway, cheers for now, guys.
Cheers.
Scrappy, the Land Rover, has lots of friends. Come play with us, the fun never ends. We're gun buddies, we learn gun safety. It's fun and easy, just like 1, 2, 3. If you see a gun, you shouldn't be afraid. You're a gun buddy and you'll be okay. So gun buddies, what does Scrappy say? Stop, don't touch, call a parent, walk away. Someone has a gun they keep in their room. Don't touch it or it will go boom. Scrappy knows what's best, so listen girls and boys. Guns are not bad, but guns are not toys. If you see a gun, you shouldn't be afraid. You're a gun buddy and you'll be okay. So gun buddies, what does Scrappy say? Stop, don't touch, call a parent, walk away. A friend invites you to come and play. He tells you to touch a gun. No, that's not okay. Scrappy knows what's best, so listen girls and boys. Guns are not bad, but guns are not toys. If you see a gun, you shouldn't be afraid. You're a gun buddy and you'll be okay. So gun buddies, what does Scrappy say? Stop, don't touch, call a parent, walk away. If you see a gun, you shouldn't be afraid. You're a gun buddy and you'll be okay. So gun buddies, what does Scrappy say? Stop, don't touch, call a parent, walk away.